July 12th, 2022 meeting of the Stow Selectboard. My name is Megan Birch-McMichael. In the room tonight we have Ingeborg Hageman, Courtney Fresha, and Ellen Sturgis, and our town administrator, Denise Domkowski. This meeting is being recorded, and I will take any public comment now that is not on for anything that's not on the agenda, if anyone has anything to say.
Anything not on the agenda?
Not on the agenda. Yep. No one?
There's no one.
All right. I'm going to move on to board member comments. And do either of you have anything you want to say tonight? No? Okay, so Ellen?
Yeah. So I just want to recognize, we lost Claire, also known as Peg Kennedy, who was our oldest citizen and the recipient of the Boston Post Road Cane, I always get the name wrong, which we gave her back in 2020. It was during COVID, but I would say the Council on Aging did a terrific job we had a car parade and a lot of her family were present, and so I'm glad she had a few years of enjoying that honor. And the town clerk will be looking for our next recipient. So it is given to the oldest resident of Stow, and interestingly enough, for an all-women select board, it was only in 1930 that it started including women. So I think it started around the turn of the century, but that was the first year that they actually started acknowledging that there might be old women in the town. So
fascinating.
Anyway, but our thoughts go out to the Kennedys, and you know, it was a sad passing, but I'm glad that we got to honor her when we did.
Absolutely. Thank you. I don't think we do. Does anyone have any recognition tonight? I don't have any. Do you have any? No? No? Okay, great. So we're going to move on to the town administrator's report.
Okay, thank you. As of July 7th, we had 8 positive COVID cases in town, or a 2.51% positivity rate. We are one of only 4 towns in Middlesex County that is still a gray community, which means we have less than 10 cases. I would expect the new numbers that include sort of last week to increase. The state percentage is still around 6%, so we are currently significantly lower, although those numbers are misleading because they do not include home testing, but we are at 8 cases. I would like to thank our former resident, Sassy Parker, for her candid conversation about LGBTQ rights on Thursday, July 23rd at the community center. We had a great turnout that night, and everyone who attended found it to be very informative. So thank you to her.
Is that taped?
It was not recorded. We chose out of respect for everyone attending. She did film some of it, and I think she has it on her own site, just her speaking, so you may be able to find that. Great. A reminder that nomination papers are available for the September 6th special town election. Mail-in ballots as well as early voting will be available for this, and those dates and information will be coming out shortly. The last day to take out nomination papers is this Friday, July 15th, and the deadline to return them is Tuesday, July 19th at 5 p.m. An update on the open meeting law. As of right now, it is set to expire at 12:01 a.m. on Friday, July 15th, the provisions that allow for fully remote meetings. Without an extension, boards must start meeting in person, or at least with a quorum in person. If you'll recall, last year we passed the remote participation policy that allows boards to have members participate remotely, but a quorum would need to be present in person. There is pending legislation. There's pending legislation in the state budget, and there is new pending legislation that was proposed by the House last week, but it includes a mandatory hybrid format, which has caused a number of small communities to come out against this bill. What it would do is it would extend the existing provisions through March 31st, and then as of April 1st, it would require any public meeting where the public is allowed to attend, so pretty much any board meeting with the exception of executive session must have a hybrid component so folks can participate remotely. We will wait to see how this plays out. I don't expect something to happen between now and Friday, just because now this additional legislation is causing some concern. But we'll see what happens. I have passed along language to our board and committee chairs as to how to post their agendas for those that are meeting fully remote. And language that they should put on there that was advised by town council. So in the event that they have a meeting posted 2 weeks from now and then the legislation changes, they would be allowed to be back remotely if they have the right language on their agenda. So we will see how this plays out and I'll keep you posted on that. The new phone system that the board approved for use of ARPA funds has finally been installed. I think we've worked out all the kinks. Folks who are calling should get the correct department when they call. You will notice if you're calling certain departments, the Board of Health, the town clerk, there is the police department, the fire department, there is an auto attendant that will answer, that will direct them further based on their needs. So there's menu options available to help direct callers to the correct place. We appreciate everyone's patience. It was a very difficult few days trying to get it squared away, but it is, I think, fully functional. Just a few programming matters we're still dealing with. And finally, we talked a little bit, I think a few meetings ago and last meeting, the request for qualifications for the owner's project manager for the library project is out on the market. Proposals are due in early August. We will receive those, award a contract, and once we have the OPM under contract, we will finalize the RFQ for the full design and put that back out. It's expected that it would be sometime in September, perhaps even early October before we have a contract with the new design firm to fully design and spec out and bid the project. So I'll keep you posted on that. We've had significant interest in this first RFQ, so hopefully that's a good sign, and we will get lots of responses back. And those are my items for you this evening.
Excellent. Thank you. All right, we're gonna move on to appointments. We have 3 tonight. And Denise, did you wanna say anything about any of the, or how about we start with the first one? And I see that Daniel Tereau, did I pronounce it right, Dan?
Yeah. You did, and I'll go on video just so you can see me, although
Thank you.
I'm sure it adds a lot of talent and the lights bouncing off my forehead, so I probably,
Excellent.
so I can see myself in the background. Hello, everybody.
All right, so,
Oh, that's you. Oh, I thought it was the TV.
Yeah, I hear the feedback.
Yeah, sorry.
all right, we're good?
Nope.
And nope, it's not closing. It won't close on me. Here, my email hasn't worked. I'm sorry, sorry.
Do you want me to kick you out?
Yeah, kick me out.
All right.
Sorry, okay, that's okay.
Hi, Dan, welcome.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm gonna, I'll have Denise, give her recommendation, and then I'll ask you to say a couple words about yourself, Dan, if you wouldn't mind.
Yes, so I am recommending Dan Tereau to the Lake Boon Commission. The vacancy was posted on May 16th. We had one applicant, Dan. I know Dan Barstow is here. I did email him, Dan Tereau's application, to which he responded. I don't know him, but at first pass, he looks like a breath of fresh air, a well-experienced leader, and of course, he loves Lake Boon. I spoke to Dan Tereau at length. I would agree, he seems like a breath of fresh air. He is an attorney and a licensed arbitrator. I tried to convince him to take out papers for the select board as an arbitrator. Didn't work, but I tried. So I think he will be a huge resource to help bridge existing and new residents with the lake and the love for the lake. I will say, in the past 2 days, we have received 2 objections from lake residents, as Mr. Tereau has a wake boat that some members do not like. But I'm confident that the LBC and with Dan on, both Dan's on there, will be able to work together in the best interest of the lake and the residents of the town.
Excellent. So welcome, Dan, and would you like to just say a couple words about yourself, why you'd like to be part of the LBC? Oh, hold on, I'm here, yeah. All right, now you can talk.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. I really appreciate it. And I liked my odds when 100% of the candidates were named Dan Tereau. So that's about as good as it gets. So a little bit of background about myself. My current role in my job is I'm the Senior Vice President of Global Corporate Development for a biotech company called PerkinElmer, located in Waltham. I've been there for about 8 years, and prior to that, I held similar roles as a Senior Vice President of large biotech companies, including Novartis. So my background is mergers and acquisitions and global development of how do you build things and how do you work together across teams and geographies with people with different interests to try to build and grow things and not tear things down. And so that's one of the things Denise and I talked about. Look, I've been on Lake Boon for 1.5 years, and I absolutely love the community. I love the lake. I know what it takes to care for the lake with respect to the number of people that need to be involved in a collaborative joint interest in making sure that everybody benefits from it. And I know that there's a diverse set of views and sometimes polarizing views on the lake, but one of the things that we have to remember is that, respect and enabling other people to mutually enjoy the lake and protect the lake is what we're here for. And the lake's been around for, more than 100 years, where people have come out here from the city. And so I'd like to do my part to participate in protecting that and preserving that, and keeping in mind that, different views always have a place, but you just try to find common ground to, work as a community. So I'm very excited about joining and working with you all.
Thank you. Did anybody have any questions, comments?
I had one question. So I love that you live on the lake, because that seems to be a requirement. I'm just wondering, have you lived on other bodies of water before and sort of been involved with other groups that are trying to manage?
I moved here from Wellesley, where I live near Morris's Pond. It's nowhere as big it's about as big as the small basin here. And then I grew up in Michigan, so I grew up on all the lakes. Here, Lake Michigan, Lake Erie, Lake Ontario. So I grew up around lakes. I participate more in water sports now because I have children. But I grew up fishing and kayaking and rowing and swimming, and lifelong lake participant.
But you haven't been involved in, because I'm in a similar
No, I haven't been involved in
association,
any of
just
the
wondering.
lake. I understand there's a dynamic I'm going to learn. I'm friendly. I like your smiles, all of you. A friendly dynamic that I'm going to learn in the coming months.
All right. All right. Yes, Ingrid.
Hi, I'm Inga Borg. I was curious about, I'm also on the Conservation Commission, and so there are some concerns about the damage to the shoreline associated with the various types of boating on the lake. I think you being an arbitrator is a great potential asset, and I would hope that enforcement of speed limits and maintenance of low wave requirements are adhered to on the lake. So I'd just be curious, I know you said you are looking forward to working with everyone and the diverse opinions about that, but do you have anything to add about the wake boating?
Yeah. Well,
I actually got, it's interesting that and I'm glad that you raised the question. I'd love to talk to you more about it, because I did get, first of all, our boat is a surf boat. It's not a wake boat. I mean, technically all boats are.
If I use terminology, that's not the
it's
point.
okay. No.
The
But the
point
reason why I
is,
want to explain that,
how can you manage
the reason why I want to
waves?
explain it is it's really, really important, because the thing is a wave. If you think about the way a wave works, it's frequency, duration, and the pitch of the wave. And so if you have a boat that's going slow, like our boat goes 9 miles an hour, but creates a bigger wave, that wave dissipates by the time it gets to the shore. You could have a fishing boat that generates an oscillating wave, that there's a lot of waves that come off the boat and destroy and damage the shore. So understanding the physics of how the boats work is why I look at the operator of the boat, which is what I think you're going to. So we have rules on the lake about where they can be operated. We have no wake zones. We have, which by the way, I love, is the Sunday afternoon quiet time. I think, if you look at the total number of days that people are on the lake, and I live right on the lake, and so I see the frequency by which people use the boat. So I think they should follow the rules. I think that when you have exceptions to people not following the rules, they should be called out either by the commission if we're on the lake, or by the police officers that are there. The thing that I've observed, and maybe you as well, is the maintenance of the docks and the maintenance. We have sunken boats that are
sitting right off of people's docks. And, when you talk about conservation, it's sort of a holistic effort of making sure that the boats cooperate, the homeowners cooperate with keeping up their docks, which is also a requirement. And then when you have dangerous hazards in the water, removing them. And I think that's having that visible improvement and diligent around the lake is what's going to make people feel good about, the cooperation that goes into it. I would not want to be a kayaker. Forget being on shore. I wouldn't want to be a kayaker with a wake boat coming by. So when we see the kayaks, we try our best to stay away from them. And, maybe we can have some dialogue about how to create safe zones for kayakers, almost like bike lanes. But, I understand the concern, and I appreciate the concern, and we're very mindful of it. I would not want to be in a paddleboard and be tipped over by somebody who generates a 3-foot wave. That's for sure.
All right.
Are you one of the kayakers, by the way?
No.
Okay, well, I will wake you if you are.
All right.
Are you gonna, I don't know, Dan has.
Oh, Dan, did you want, sorry.
And I don't know where,
It'll pick you up.
It finds you.
It finds you. You
All
can
right,
stand, you
great.
can sit, yep.
You can even sit down if you want, it'll still get you.
so my name is Dan Barstow. I'm a member of the Lake Boon Commission. I live at 99 Pine Point Road. The Lake Boon Commission had no opportunity to interview Dan, so I'm not speaking from any formal position of the Lake Boon Commission. But I would like to speak in support of Dan's appointment. I think we have gone through now 2 years of intensive study of the health of the lake. It's been through a grant that we got, and I think we gained some major insights. We are really working hard to maintain the algae blooms and other issues of the health of the lake. And in my view, the next issue we need to deal with is safety. And I think that for this to happen, it's very important that, I'm a kayaker myself, a swimmer, a kayaker, but I think it's very important that we have representation from people who have other ways of enjoying the lake. I know, Dan, you have power boats and jet skis, you enjoy using those, and that's great because that's an important part of it. You and I may end up disagreeing on some issues, but I think it is very important to have that other perspective represented so that collectively we can work towards achieving those goals of safety and maintenance of the lake.
Dan, that was very, very nice of you to say, and you and I couldn't agree more. And the way that you characterize it, look, we all want to enjoy the health and safety and prosperity of the lake, and I'm going to be there to listen. And you'd be surprised how many times we can find common ground on things that we think we're going to be opposites on. It's always a matter of looking at it from the other person's perspective and trying to figure out what we can do to work together for a common goal. So Dan, I'm a neighbor of yours. You know where I'm at. I'm at 126. We built the barn, so. I'm happy to have you over for a beer or whatever. I appreciate the kind words.
But not on the boat.
No, not on the jet ski, Dan. On the back of the jet ski.
Ooh.
All right, thank you both.
All right.
I will take a motion.
I move to appoint Daniel Tereau to the Lake Boon Commission to fulfill the remainder of a 3-year term expiring June 30th, 2023.
Second.
All right, any discussion? Nope, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, that's unanimous.
Can
Thank
I
you,
add
Dan.
one more comment? I'm sorry. I should have said this before. I just want to give words of praise to Chris Craigland, the person who resigned after, I think she's done 5 years. She has done a tremendous job. She was the chair for a couple of years. And in all of that time, every vote that we had was unanimous. Our ability to work together, she embodied that. She worked diligently, and I think we should all be very proud of her. And I just want to acknowledge that hard work that she did.
Thanks, Dan. All right,
Dan.
welcome.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks for stepping up.
Thank you. All right, we've got another appointment, and this is for the Zoning Board of Appeals. Denise.
Thank you. I would like to recommend Andy Crosby to fill the vacant seat that was as a result of Bill Byron stepping down to an associate role. Andy's been on the ZBA since January. He's done a great job. He participates. He's engaging with the rest of the board, and I think he'll be a great asset to us.
I think Andy's on. Oh, there he is. Hi, Andy, how are you?
Good, how are you doing?
Excellent. Did you want to say a couple words about why you want to be on CBA, or yes, continue to be on CBA?
Yes, I mean, as Denise mentioned, I started in January and I've enjoyed my participation. I certainly have tried my best to contribute and help the board make good decisions, and I'd like to do that as a full member. It's been a lot of fun and very interesting, and I definitely am interested in continuing further.
Excellent.
A lot of fun. You don't hear that
I
often.
know, CBA, that's great. Love it. Do we have any questions or comments from the board?
I do.
Yes.
So I know you just got on, and I'm reading the packet. I feel like I have to explain, this isn't working, so I'm reading the packet on this. I'm not sending emails or texting or anything, but what have you found to be the most challenging working on the ZBA?
Well, in one sense, it's basically starting from ground zero and making sure that for each meeting I'm doing the depth of research I need to do in order to understand each special permit or variance or other issue that comes before the board. So it's particularly now taking a significant amount of time to get ready for meetings. But again, that's part of the process, and I don't mind that.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else? No?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd just like to say that I have worked with Andy on the Town Hall Restoration Committee for a number of years. And he's also been a member of the CPC. And I really enjoyed working with Andy on the Town Hall Restoration Committee. I think he brings a lot of energy and careful, thoughtful comments to the table, and really takes his commitment seriously. And so he's a great asset, and I appreciate your volunteering for things like the Zoning Board of Appeals and the Town Hall Restoration Committee.
Thank you.
Take a motion.
I move to appoint Andrew Crosby as a full member of the Zoning Board of Appeals to fulfill the remainder of a 5-year term expiring June 30th, 2025.
Second.
Any discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
That's unanimous. Thank you, Andy.
Thank you very much.
All right. Here's another appointment. Denise.
Yeah, so this is for Judson Swinimer. We are sadly losing him as a full-time member of our fire department, but he would like to stay on as a call firefighter at EMT, which we are thrilled about. So I ask that you ratify his change of position from full-time to call.
Excellent. Any questions?
No.
All right, I'll take a motion.
I move to appoint Judson Swinimer to the position of call firefighter EMT through June 30th, 2023.
Second.
Any discussion? Nope. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
That's unanimous. All right. Next, so
It is Jim.
it is Jim. Is he here?
He is here.
Oh, hi. Hello, Mr. Salvie.
Hi there, everyone.
Let you take it away.
I don't see him.
He's
He's on. He's in.
It's there in type.
He's there.
All right, so, hey, Jim, do you want to give us a quick overview of the Bike for the Woods, the Stowe Conservation Trust Bike for the Woods?
Sure, and please excuse if I don't turn the camera on. I just got back from a bike ride and there's no need to inflict you. So you've seen the Bike for the Woods in previous years. It's a charity ride for the benefit of the Stowe Conservation Trust, organized by local volunteers. We consider it a family-friendly ride. We have rides in length varying from 5 and 14 miles to 37 and 65. And there's an informal 25-mile loop that is just cutting off a loop on the 37. We're specifically asking you for permission to use a very small part of the lower common near the Papaginos for probably 1 or 2 desks for registration materials and food. The ride route has changed in a couple of years, eliminating the 1 or 2 semi, dangerous spots. And I kind of detail that in my written materials. This is not one of those rides where you're going to see 50 cyclists in a huge peloton going down the road. People start off at various times, and usually you get no more than 5 or 6, maybe, at any one time. Much of the ride, frankly, is not even in Stow. It starts at Lower Village and then proceeds out into Harvard, and then comes back in Acton, and then the longer route quickly goes into Bolton and then Hudson. We've passed it by the police, who I don't think have any substantive comments. The fire department also doesn't have anything. And I made double sure with the Board of Health that we don't need any kind of food permit. And I'm happy to answer any other questions you might have.
Any questions?
Nope.
Questions? No? All right, well, then I will take a motion.
Okay, with the approval of public safety officials, I move to approve the use of Stow Public Ways for the Stow Conservation Trust Bike for the Woods on Sunday, August 28th, 2022, from 9 a.m. to 12 noon.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, and that's unanimous. Excellent, thanks.
Thanks for
Jim?
taking the run, Jim.
Thank you, you guys. I almost said aye when you called for the vote. Old habits die hard. I'll see you later. Bye.
Aye.
Bye.
All right, we have Chief Salisi here as the representative for the Traffic Safety Advisory Committee and to talk to us about a stop sign.
Yes. So part of the Traffic Safety Advisory Committee, we get complaints or concerns brought to us, and then we evaluate them, and then we can see what we can do. Some of the stuff is low cost. Some of the stuff that we can do, we have to bring to the board, and then some of the policies that we have to go to town meeting for, because it's going to be a large project. This one was brought to us by resident Claudia Dragan back on November 3rd, and it has to deal with the intersection of Harvard and Garner Road. It's as it was described in the meeting by Jesse, it's an ocean of pavement that is out there at that intersection. There's been a couple projects that have been done up there by the bridge was redone, and the whole pavement area up at that area was recently, in the past few years, has been reconstructed. So it is quite a large area, and there is no traffic control devices. So people coming from Harvard Road, the Finn Road area, and people coming from south on Garner are coming into that intersection with no traffic control device. So we put it on our agenda, and we started our discussion on November 16th. And we looked at it. After that, myself and the highway superintendent, we went out there. We actually did a site visit, and we pulled the crash data. We found that there wasn't enough crash data. There's only been one accident in the past 6 years. So what else could we do? Well, we looked at the regulations, and coming from Gardner Road, if you go on to Harvard, you need at least a 200, at that intersection, you would need 200 feet of sight line clearance. You don't have that when you come down. So we felt that the most appropriate use of a stop sign would be at that intersection right there when you're coming south from Garner Road onto Harvard Road. That will cause people to stop there, and then any traffic continuing on from Harvard Road can continue on to Harvard Road. That was presented at a meeting in February. And the committee voted on that to bring it to your in front of the board here for your approval. If it does get approved, then what will happen is that we'll make notification in the public for 2 weeks. We'll put the highway department will put the traffic sign up, and then it'll be a regulated intersection for us, not only on like the enforcement end, but also on the actual ability for the motoring public to stop at the stop sign. And that's where we're at. Any questions? Or?
I have a question.
Yeah.
Was there any consideration of a yield sign as opposed to a stop sign?
Based on the fact that there is no line of sight, coming to a complete stop is a better way of handling that intersection. Because as you go through a yield sign, you still could be doing, 20 miles an hour. And that by the time your sight is able to look to your right up Harvard Road, you're already in the middle of the intersection.
It is a interesting intersection, yes. I agree that something needs to be done, so.
Yeah. And like, there's two ways we can do things when we make, or there's a few different ways when we make traffic regulations for like stop signs or different changes. One, if it falls within the state traffic rules, we can do that. Or if it is enough crash data where there's a large accident, large accidents are happening, then we can use that. And this one, it's really just the sight line is very poor at that intersection. Claudia did come to one of our meetings, and she did make her point. She wanted to know where we proposed the sign. We told her. And then she also made a comment about there's another intersection about like no name. There should be something up there
Oh,
too.
yes. Right.
But we will,
That whole part of Stow is just like.
we take each of these concerns one at a time. And if anyone wants to know like what we're doing or where we're at, we always post all of our submitted concerns and what we're doing with them on our website too. So you can always be updated with where we are with different projects.
So I'm thrilled because I'm actually surprised to hear there's only been one accident in 6 years. I think there's a lot of skid marks or something. 'Cause it just seems every time I go through it, I feel like somebody surprises me, especially coming, I guess, from Harvard Road. I always forget which way I'm coming from. But anyway, that's where the stop sign will be. But I guess to the sort of yield sign thing, I'm just wondering, will there be the people coming up from, this is south, right? Coming up Harvard Road, are they gonna know that there's I guess I'm just wondering if there's a way to have other signage so people coming into the intersection on those other roads know that it's a.
So like, are you saying like having northbound on Harvard Road get notified that southbound on Garner that there's a stop sign there?
Something. Not that I want to encourage them to think, oh, good, they're gonna stop. I don't have to. But
Right.
it's somehow, I mean, I guess I just would love, I don't know what the options are for just, it's like the dangerous intersections signs that there are around that sometimes aren't particularly dangerous. And this one, if you've driven it before, it's dangerous, but if you're coming up on it.
So that's something we could look at. I'd have to go back to the committee
That
and
would
look
be
at that and look at what our options are for that.
Yeah, I know there's more regulations. That's right. I don't know if that's a realistic thing, but it just.
But you always have new signage signs for a week or a month or something, or new, what's it called? New traffic pattern,
Yeah.
right? So, I mean, that could be a warning for a month or something, and then you'll put it in the paper and have it. And it's
Well, the paper will have it for at least 2 weeks.
Right.
And not only that, but we could put our signboard up there, the one the police have, and say, new traffic pattern. So, and then we, could put, I don't know, on the stop sign, I've seen new stop signs with like flags coming out of it to alert people.
I've
Yeah,
seen that
that's
too.
good.
Yeah. Okay,
We could-
it's under control. He's got it.
And I've seen signage that you're referring to. I think it's Andover has a lot of these sort of weird intersections that will say like, no stop on Harvard, just so that people coming up know, or oncoming traffic will stop, something like that to sort of warn folks. There is stuff available, that if your committee decided it was a good idea, we could look at that.
We can make signs that say anything.
Yeah.
It's just like, what is the right sign that we want?
Right,
And we're still
right.
dealing with that. We're still like, Treaty Elm, that corner is one we're dealing with right now. And we're trying to come up with the best language to put a sign. We voted to put a sign up. We just have to come up with the best language.
Right.
It's what's going to be most effective. Do we want to put symbols? Do we want to put words? Like what is going to be the most effective attention getting and create an environment where people want to adhere to the rules and regulations.
Exactly. That's it. Compliance.
Right.
But I'm so happy.
Any other questions? No, I will take the motion then.
I move to approve the request by the Traffic Safety Advisory Committee to place a stop sign at the intersection of Garner Road and Harvard Road.
Second.
Any discussion? Nope. All in favor?
Aye.
And that is unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Have a good night.
You as well. Right. Our town administrator. we will be discussing, reviewing, and signing the purchase and sales agreement for the north course of Stowakers.
Woo-hoo.
Yes, so as I articulated in my memo, we started this on November 1st, the day after the special town meeting. Kathy Spera and I have been working with our town council and representatives from Stowakers to negotiate for the town to purchase the north course of the Stowakers golf course. If you will recall, the presentation to town meeting included a number of moving parts, leasing back a portion of it for golf for up to 10 years, leasing back the driving range for up to 5 years, public access, how we're going to deal with the master plan. So all of that is taken into consideration in this purchase and sale. At a later date, we will be putting before you the retained rights agreement, which will give Stowakers the ability to utilize the portions that we've dedicated to them for the 5 and 10 years, but we're not quite there yet. I think we've agreed to the terms on it. We're just not ready to put that forward. So this is an important step. It's a huge next step in this process. There is contingencies in there should we not receive the grant that we're looking for. It will give us the ability to decide if we will go back to town meeting and ask for the funding, if there's other avenues to obtain funding. Stowakers has been wonderful, quite frankly, to work with. We've been meeting on a monthly basis with the larger team, and then the smaller sort of negotiating team with Kathy and I, council, and the Stowakers representatives have been meeting specifically just to negotiate this agreement and the retained rights agreement. So it has been fully vetted by council. Stowakers has signed off on it. So now I'm asking the board to approve our purchase and sale and let us get to the next step,
Excellent.
which is very exciting.
It's very exciting. Any questions from the board? Ellen, we'll start with you this time.
So, in terms of the lease back part, one of my concerns was around liability. Just because I don't really 100% understand the sort of what it means to be doing that lease back. So will, like, something happens on the driving range or on the 9-hole course, do they carry the liability? I mean, is it explicit? I just didn't
Yes.
see it in there.
Yes, because that's in the separate agreement.
That's a separate.
Yes,
agreement.
so
Okay.
this just talks about that there will be a number of acres under a separate agreement, and then the separate
Oh,
agreement
and
goes
that-
into the, we have not brought that
you
forward
haven't.
yet.
Okay, so that.
That will
is-
clearly, yes, articulate what they can use, how we can access that part of the property when they're leasing it.
Right.
What the terms are for the lease. It's a lease back, because it's incorporated in the purchase price, the cost of that, but that is all ironed out in a separate
Okay, so
agreement that will come forward.
I just wanted to double check that. So,
Yes.
okay. It's all exciting. It's great.
Any other questions?
No, it's very exciting.
No?
When-
exciting.
Do we know when we'll hear from the state, right? Do we know what the timeframe is?
The fall. I think we have November 1st as the deadline that we would have to ask for an extension from Stowakers. I think that's what we've given them, that
Okay.
either if they have not made a decision, or if they've made a decision and we did not receive all or part of it.
Mhm.
You know, we do have a little bit of luck on our side now with the new, with the new state employee. So, we'll see how that goes.
Which one?
Bob Wilbur. Bob Wilbur has left
He
Mass
left
Audubon and is now working for
Oh,
the
my
state and
God.
reviews the MVP grants.
Oh, now he's gonna have to excuse himself.
So
for
he
conflict of
will.
interest.
He will.
Absolutely.
But we have a letter of recommendation from him in our grant
Oh,
application. So fingers crossed.
Oh, my God, that's.
Yes, so
okay.
Bob started, I think in early June.
Oh, man.
So yes, it's hopefully, the state has given with the ARPA funding, the governor has continued to put money in the MVP program to further so many of these projects. So
Mhm.
I think we have a fantastic shot. I would be shocked if
It's
we
such
did
a-
not
yeah.
receive
Right.
all of our requests, or at least a large portion of it, but we do have contingencies just in case.
Fantastic. All right, shall I take a motion?
Sure. I move that select board members sign the purchase and sale agreement for the north course of Stowakers as presented at this meeting.
Second.
Discussion? No? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That is unanimous. Excellent.
Well, thank you.
All right. Do you want to take the lead on this, Denise? Or I didn't know if anybody else was here about this or no.
Nope.
Okay. We are being asked to ratify the new 1-year and 3-year collective bargaining agreement for the Highway Department Teamsters Union.
Yes.
Throw it over to Denise.
Just-
I'm sorry.
Just
You
the
have
PNS.
to get through the peanuts.
Okay, so if you will recall, we talked about this last fall, that the Highway Department voted to unionize with the Teamsters. We started negotiations with them beginning of this calendar year. I think it was January, February, we started meeting regularly. The two agreements, a 1 year is for fiscal 22 that only encompasses stipends. The expectation was we were gonna get this done sooner, but we did not. So the first year is just a stipend adjustment, and then the full 3-year agreement. As I mentioned in the memo, most of what's being formalized are benefits that they've been getting all along: clothing, safety gear, the time off. This just actually puts it in a document, make sure that it's clearly spelled out. All employees know what their benefits are. We know what the cost is per employee. There was and I think you'll recall when we went through town meeting, there is a significant cost increase on the salary side of things. We had done a salary survey of our neighboring towns and our comparable communities, and we were at the very, very low end. So the adjustments to salary was to bring the members of the highway department and the cemetery department up to par with their counterparts at an equitable rate. And I think that's it. All other, I mean, there's nothing out of the ordinary that they're receiving. A couple of nice points to their contract where they fall under Teamsters. We have allowed for a training benefit that Teamsters will actually provide most of the training needed. If we're able to attract non-CDL drivers, Teamsters will give them the CDL course. We've had vacancies in the highway department as laborers since I've been here. It's very difficult to attract anybody right now. So this will just give us better opportunities to bring folks in, train them under the umbrella of the Teamsters. They provide a number of safety trainings. When they train and come out, they would train the entire department, including the supervisors that are not in the union. So that's a great thing. They'll do CPR training, so on. So I think it's a really good agreement. I think, again, it formalizes it and makes it crystal clear to all parties what benefits are that we're providing them. The union did ratify the agreement on a vote of 8-0, so they have approved it on their side, and now it's up for you all.
Any questions?
A small one, is it closed shop? Is it gonna require anybody who works for the highway to be part of the union?
Yes. I should say yes and no. Anyone who falls under highway or cemetery is part of the union. They can opt out, but they still fall under the contract. They just would not be represented by Teamsters should they grieve anything. But they voted to unionize, so once they voted and the state accepts them, they are a union shop now.
But they do have the opt-out.
They do have an opt-out, but, and we did clarify they would fall under the contract and all provisions, but there's no representation, right? No formal representation.
Any questions?
No.
No? All right, then I will entertain a motion.
I move to ratify the new 1-year and 3-year collective bargaining agreements for the Highway Department Teamsters Union as presented at this meeting.
Second.
Discussion? No? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, and that's unanimous. Thank you.
So once, so I have them here for you to sign. Once they're fully signed, they will be on our website and made public for anyone who'd like to review them.
Fantastic. I'm gonna assume no one's here from the planning department so that we can approve the disposition of this surplus. Do you want to
Support the.
go over it really quick?
Certainly. So there is a multifunction printer upstairs on the 3rd floor. It has been it was malfunctioning.
Great.
We got a new one through the building permit grant software that we got in when we got the state grant. Part of that was to buy a new plotter that's now located on this floor in our copier room so that everyone has access to it. This one has just not had any use since then, and they're looking to dispose of it. The expectation is there could be some value, so we would put it out on municipal bid and see if we can get some money for it that would just go into the general fund.
All right. Any questions on this? No? All right, we'll take a motion.
I move to approve the request from the planning department for the disposition of surplus, namely a 2011 Hewlett Packard wide format plotter no longer used by the department.
Second.
No discussion? Any discussion? No? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, and that is unanimous. All right, as you will all remember, we looked over the special event permit regulations 2 meetings ago,
Last meeting,
and it looks like the changes that we talked about are in red.
yes.
Okay, does anyone have any questions about these?
I'm just wondering about the requiring septic colors approved by Board of Health. It just seems a little funky because the septic colors have to be licensed by.
Well, I thought the same thing, but then, exactly, that's the one thing that hung me up, but I saw it as a generic because it's, I think, well, I'll let Denise answer that. But just to say, because I had the exact same response, but I think that was my only comment on it.
So that was an addition from the Board of Health. They asked us to include that. So I can follow up with them if there is. I assume that all septic haulers in the town must be approved through the Board of Health anyways, but that was their request to add that in.
Okay.
Yeah, I think, and it's for public use only, it's not residential backyard things, so I thought that was helpful.
Right.
I think haulers is a generic term for porta potty pickups.
Yeah.
So.
All right.
So I have one comment, I think it's a typo. Let's see, it's under the section about alcohol. It's only one sentence, so alcohol without a license is prohibited without express approval from the select board and the issuance of a one-day liquor license. So it looks. I don't know, it just read funny last night. I retracted my comment.
That's pretty standard.
But I hear it.
It was just too many withouts when I read it before, so
Yeah.
It's a
never
little
mind.
funky. I hear you, but
Do you like the motion?
I would love a motion if we don't have any more. Yep.
I move to approve the special event permit and guidelines as presented at this meeting to include fees of $0 for nonprofit organizations and $50 for for-profit organizations.
Second it, or we do an audience.
Oh,
You know, like, I know we discussed this back when I was on the board and everything, stuff like this. One of the things that I did notice is it's for any public event with over 20 people. Personally, I would think 50 would be more reasonable for all the hoops and jump, hoops and everything that you're gonna have everybody jump through, filling out forms, getting insurance, this, that, and the other thing. Just my personal opinion would be 50 might be a more reasonable number of people. 20 seems kind of low, that's all.
On page 2 of the comments, the additional permitting costs, I would just like to correct it that says a raffle permit instead of a raffle license, since I issue the permits.
got it.
Yep, right in the middle of that first paragraph.
Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, line down. That's all I could see.
Okay. Denise, did you want to speak to where I'm assuming the number of attendees came from? But it wasn't something that we had voted on.
No, it's
But
just an
it's just
arbitrary
an
number.
arbitrary number. Okay, okay. Does anyone feel strongly that it needs to be?
Well, this isn't for residential parties, right? I mean, that was
Correct.
Right,
sort of that's,
right.
I mean, I think that's where I thought of it, like, well, if I'm having a party of 30 people.
Oh,
they're
yeah,
gonna
I
have-
would never even think of applying to have a party in my backyard.
No,
But, I'm just mentioning it because, I think we're trying to foster community events, community spirit. And, if you have 21 people at the library or something, to go through the list after list and check all the boxes, personally, even when we discussed this before, I decided that I would never have a party on town property because it's just too onerous. It's just way too much of a pain in the butt. So, and I'll say in the spirit of compromise, I just thought that maybe something like 50 might be more reasonable to try to let some people get together for smaller functions. You're still going to, if they're going to serve alcohol, they're still going to have to come and talk to you. 20 people shouldn't need porta potties. But, I'm just thinking something like that. You could always amend it later if it became an issue, but given the lack of a policy really in the past, I would think starting to try to keep people interested in doing stuff on town property rather than just saying, we really don't want you unless you're going to jump through all these hoops. Just my 2 cents.
Hector?
Being someone that's kind of going through the process right now, and certainly the event I'm planning for is going to be more than 50, but we're doing it as a fundraiser and costs are an issue. And we're hoping to get enough people so that we can at least make up the cost of creating the event. And at 20 people, I could see if it is a fundraiser and they are serving alcohol, it might be a problem trying to raise enough money to cover the costs, along with all the permit fees and what have you.
I have some questions.
Yeah.
We're not charging you anything, though. What fees are you referring to? The cost of the event?
No, the other.
The permitting fees and everything, and I will be charged. Yeah. I
Well, the
mean,
one-day liquor license, we can't waive that. That's the fee you're being charged.
I'll have to
You're a
double-
nonprofit. You're not being charged anything for the event permit.
I'll have to double check that because I don't think that's what I was told.
Okay.
But I'll double check. But I'm also thinking if I am a for-profit event that I'm doing, just trying to throw an event in Stow to foster community and stuff, all of these, as Tom called it, all these hoops, make it difficult when it's just for 20 people and you're not even likely to recoup all your costs.
So and I'm speaking for myself, but I sort of see this as a blanket policy where it's just, if you're trying to throw an event, there's a certain amount of liability having an event on town property. And so this policy just protects the town. So I don't.
It's not only, it's private and public,
Yeah, because my event is on private property.
but this language
We're still covered
includes
by it.
private property.
But I thought
No, it just specifically exempted residential events.
I see.
But if it's an otherwise permit for, trying to find it now.
Which,
So it's for
in all
public.
honesty, it makes sense to have this because
Right.
for trafficking and safety and everything, and
Yeah.
we're working with the safety departments to make sure everything's right. But I can see Tom's point that just from a cost basis and an level of effort basis, it's a lot of work to go through it. I'm still trying to go through it.
I don't really have a problem with increasing the number of
With
people.
yeah.
And if it was just random, there wasn't any guidance. So just what's interesting is that at our last meeting, we went through this and debated, and the number issue never came up. All sorts of other issues came up. And so then those got all revised.
Yeah.
And now we're here again tonight. And it's interesting. It's funny how a group of people will focus on different pieces. I kind of think 20, 40, it's like, pick a number.
50 sounds sort of high to me, actually.
50 does sound high to me. I would say 35.
35.
Yeah, 35 to 40.
35.
is kind of where I'm.
Yeah, that's where I'm landing. All right, do you want to,
There's a hand raised. I don't know if you'd like to acknowledge somebody.
It's
Yeah.
It's Katie Ryan. Hello. Is that your Katie?
Could be.
all right, sure.
If you're struggling to find a number for what that number should be, that's very arbitrary, that was picked at random. Why wouldn't you do a cost analysis to find that tipping point where if $20 may prevent, or 20 people may prevent somebody from having any type of profit on this organized event that they're creating, why wouldn't you do a cost analysis of the permitting and the licensing versus how much money someone might make on a 20, 50, 100 person event and find a fair number based on the financials of it?
So, can I respond?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I hear what you're saying, Katie, but as someone who, since I work with nonprofits, I do a lot of events, and there's so many variables in these events. I mean, if you're not having alcohol, that's one big less event, but you're gonna have a tent, or you're gonna have, I mean, there's just a lot of, there's no standard for what it was gonna cost, so.
But if you're asking all these people to jump through these hoops in order to have a 20 person or a 50 person event, wouldn't you have different, factors that go into it? Is it nonprofit? Is it not? I don't understand why you wouldn't put less arbitrary number down if you could figure out the cost of all these permitting and hoops that you're having people go through in order to make the town have that responsibility. What's the cost of the responsibility to you?
All right, I'm gonna have Denise talk and then we're gonna come back.
Yeah, I guess I'm still stuck on the cost. It's a form that people are filling out. I don't understand that there's a cost associated with filling out the form and providing the details of the event. If they have to get permits for a tent, that's their decision to have a tent. If they want to have alcohol, that's their decision to have alcohol. Filling out the form and providing the requirements, there is no cost associated with it unless you are a for-profit entity. For instance, in the special permit for Nan's Market, if they want to have special events, they are required to have a permit from this board. This would incorporate that, as well as the Spring Fest type events that is a nonprofit that still has to require, we need the Board of Health permits, we need the tent permits, we need the entertainment permits. They're all required. This just puts it all together in a package and says, here's everything you have to give us. There's no cost to filling this out.
But that's the difference, is that, yes, it's a free, like for a nonprofit, there's not a permit fee, but if you're requiring a permit, there is a lot more work that has to be done, which.
But we're not requiring a new permit.
No, it's not gonna cost, it's not money the town's gonna benefit from, but like Hector's organization's gonna have to invest time to get the permit.
Correct, but
So
that
if
would be the same whether we had this or not. They still need a tent permit. They're still gonna need those. This is not requiring the
Okay.
permits.
Okay.
They still have to have, under state law, you still have to have tent permits, you still have to have the septic permits, you still have to have those things.
Yeah.
Again, this just summarizes it, so when we get a request, we can take one nice packet, disseminate it to all the departments, and they say, okay, we now need these things to meet this requirement, we need these things.
Yeah.
But this doesn't trigger cost. Their event and what they're having will trigger cost.
Yeah, absolutely. Like when I ran the Run for the Woods, it was like, I wasn't going to be able to put on a road race in town without having insurance, without having whatever, like you can't just do that. So I do appreciate this policy because it is sort of putting it all together, and it's telling people that if you're going to have an event where you're going to have a tent or you're going to have whatever, or that you have to get these permits ahead of time. It's what you have to do.
So what the number is, it doesn't matter to me.
Yeah.
It's just, it was, we discussed the number actually last fall, and it was, how do we figure out how many people are gonna be there?
Mhm.
And it's more of a, we're giving the host of whatever event the responsibility to try and estimate. But if they don't fill one out because they think there's only gonna be 20 people and 100 people show up, they now have violated the town requirement to have a event permit because they underestimated. So I don't know where you draw that line. No one's gonna be out counting people at events, but if public safety or people see that there's tents in places that there are not normally tents and it's a private business or town property, they're gonna question us and say, do they have a permit?
Yes.
I would like to propose, in the spirit of good faith, we've had people, a number of people comment that they think the number 20 is too low and that we change it to 35. and I would tend to want to amend my motion.
I would
To that
take an
effect.
amended motion to that effect. All right. Do you want to re-amend the motion?
Sure. So let's see. I move to approve the special event permit and guidelines with the following amendment, that the number of attendees which will require, or more, which will require a permit will be 35. And the permit and guidelines will include fees of $0 for nonprofit organizations and $50 for for-profit organizations.
And the word license will be raffle in the additional permit section.
Raffle permit.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's true also.
Thank you.
That's included in my amendment.
Thank you. I did hear that.
So will Joyce.
I'll second that.
Excellent. Any other discussion? No? All right. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. That is unanimous.
All right, for reading that, and going through that with us.
All right. Next, it's policy night. All right. So we're going through, Denise, do you want to talk about your memo about the policies?
Sure.
That we're coming up with?
At the last meeting, it was recommended that the code of conduct policy be sent out to all board and committee appointments. However, when I reviewed that, that was specific to the select board. There was no way to tailor it to boards and committees. So I took the MMA code of conduct that they disseminate. Actually, Maya is the one who wrote it, our insurance company, but this is what MMA endorses for board and committee member codes of conduct policies. In addition, while we were doing that, figured, well, we should have an employee code of conduct, which just references the Inspector General's code of conduct for public employees that we are required to follow anyways. This just allows employees to sign off on it and have that documented. And then our insurance company recommends we have a visitor code of conduct that gives us some authority that if someone is yelling, screaming, intimidating, threatening employees, we have the grounds to point to a policy, have them removed, call the police. It just gives us some justification to address that. Additionally, we have, since I've been here, we have restricted public building access to a couple of folks. We can do that under the law, but this will allow us to say, we've asked you to leave several times for causing these disturbances. We are now going to suspend your privilege to come into this public building. So these are all drafts for you to discuss this evening. All right. Who wants to start?
So I guess I was surprised that you didn't just adapt the one that we spent a lot of time on our code of conduct, and why not just use one that is homegrown as opposed to going to MMA?
Because when I tried to start taking out select board, it just seemed like it was too specific to you all.
Because it struck me, it was pretty similar. Let's still look at it. I mean, yeah, there's specific references, but I guess I'm concerned about, well, the second one, I'm gonna have to look at them again. So I thought that the one boards and committees was very similar, and I would rather see it adapted from ours since we wrote it. But then the visitors one, I find it shocking that an insurance company would write some of these things, because it's sort of well documented in ADA issues that you don't assume someone who appears to be under the influence of alcohol might have other issues. It's never something you've seen in a legal document, so we have to fix that.
That's fine.
So I'm strongly opposed to that one. I think we already are legally protected. If something is happening, the police can be called, and as you said, you've already done it. So it sets a very negative tone. It's like, we don't really want you to come to town building, is what this big red letters like. I'm disappointed to see it. So, I mean, I understand the other ones in terms of committees. I think it's a great idea, but I think this one for visitors is just It's not the tone you want to set in town.
Do other towns have this kind of okay.
Yes. Can you name some towns that actually have big red sign, big red letters on their doors?
I can't name them off the top of my head, but again, this is endorsed by the insurance company. So I can get you a list of towns without any issue.
Does it have
It has to
in
be
red?
corrected, and it has to go by our lawyer then, because it wouldn't pass our lawyer.
Okay. Why wouldn't it pass our lawyer?
If the phrase at the bottom around appearance, that it says
It's a
appearing to be under the
bullet
influence of
six.
any illegal substance. I mean, people with health issues, a lot of those people end up appearing to be drunk when it's
Health issue.
different, Tourette's or,
Yeah.
I'm trying to think, there's another one.
I'd like to strike that one.
I'm fine with striking it. Okay,
I'm fine with striking that last bullet.
all right, so let's take the,
Smoking is a state law.
yeah,
Public alcohol consumption is a state law.
I mean, we could just put smoking or drinking alcohol or consuming any illegal substance is
It's prohibited.
is prohibited, but that's
That's a state law.
a state law.
So
So
we don't have to-
I don't know that it's, that we need to even have it because,
Right, that's just ask them to leave.
Yeah.
Or call it if they become abusive.
yeah. All right. Do we want, so any other questions or comments about the, I'm seeing people in the audience. Hang on one second. I see you. All right, Deb, did you have a comment?
Yes,
Yeah.
I do.
Can you, for the record, yeah, sorry.
Debbie Woods, do you need address? Just
Yeah,
name?
sure.
Okay, Debbie Woods. I guess I'm confused, to put it mildly. While I understand what happened last year, which in September, which caused the select board to do what they did, I'm still very confused because as an elected or an appointed committee member, you are sworn in by our town clerk to uphold Mass General Law and the Charter. As you just said, Megan, this is all, much of what's in there is state law. So why do we have the redundancy? To me, there's no need for another layer. In the town administrator's note, it's, one of the comments is to limit potential liability. I think you just increase the liability by taking it from Mass General Law and the Charter and now added our words on top of it. I also have kind of an issue with woven through this document is things other than just code of conduct. This changes to the reporting structure within the town. Changes that I'm going to use the word disguised as code of conduct. The reporting structure and the duties are covered by the Charter. Again, we uphold the Charter, we uphold Mass General Law. No need for this. There is no need to change the reporting structure. Plus, the whole reason we have the Charter is to keep a town administrator or a board from changing the structure. That's not the power that is given to you. The good news is there's a Charter Review Committee this year, and we're going to be reviewing, or not we, the Charter is going to be reviewed. So if there are issues and you want to change the reporting structure, that information gets inputted to the Charter Committee, and they will decide among other input, as well as taking it to town meeting. Town meeting makes those changes to reporting structure, not the people sitting in this room. I have submitted my name for consideration for the Charter Review Committee. If I'm selected, I will happily and wonderfully maintain my oath that I will take to uphold the Charter and uphold Mass General Law. But I will tell you, I will not be signing this code of conduct.
Can I ask a question?
Mm-hmm.
So the long code of conduct that has these changes in reporting, is that the one that was created last year with the Board of Selectmen?
No.
Or is this in the packet?
Okay.
Section C.
No, but, Okay,
No,
so
so we
what
separately.
you guys did last year was part of this, and
No.
then we added other stuff on?
What we did last year was a separate, we had, we generated a civility policy, which it turns out was just for the Board of Selectmen, because we had a little issue.
Yeah, everyone knew you guys had issues. That's no secret.
And so there's none of that here.
Okay, so this is brand
Totally
new.
separate.
Okay. Well, I think those are good comments, and I'd like to table this and look at it some more. Yes, sorry.
Yeah,
Denise? No, I actually have a question, if I may, to Debbie. I don't see that we're changing any reporting structure in section C.
Oh, very clearly. Given the town well, there's two things. Refrain from giving orders or direction to the town let me find the one, wait a minute. Yeah. So refrain from giving orders or directions to the town administrator for actions as an individual or board committee member.
Correct, so
Wait a minute. No,
Courtney couldn't call me and tell me to do something, the board has to decide to do something.
Correct, but there are situations where you have a variety of boards, and I will let, you know what, I'm gonna let Tom, if I may, I'm gonna let Tom speak to that.
One of the things that I've thought about, now that I'm on the Board of Assessors, is that there may be times that I would call you and ask you to do something. Say I was the chair of the Board of Assessors. Now, I understand I can't act as an individual, but I would be calling you and saying, this is a decision of the board. And, granted, you may say, no, we can't do that, et cetera, but at the same time, I would be calling you and instructing you from our board to do something.
Right, this
But that's
prohibits you as an
different.
individual from calling
That's
me.
different.
and
However, I think what it needs to say is this does not apply to chairs of various boards. Right.
No,
Because-
it's two different things.
So,
That's two
so Tom, the
different things.
distinction is,
Yeah.
if you're communicating a decision of the board,
Mhm.
or if you are communicating your own personal wishes as a single member of that
Oh,
board.
absolutely. I've been around this long enough that I understand that whole concept. But I think this could lead people to think something different than that. I don't think that this is ready for prime time at this point.
This is the draft.
Yeah,
This
I
is the
agree.
first time
Right.
not the first time we're seeing it, but this is the first time we're having a discussion about it.
Right.
So certainly are willing to take in
Right.
the comments.
And that's why we're here tonight is, to provide some, I'll say, helpful input.
Yep.
90% of this, I have no problem with,
Mhm.
all right?
Mhm.
I agree that it's redundant. Basically, it's telling us that we've got to abide by the oath that we took. But then there are certain sections in here that recognize and support the administrative chain of command and refuse to act on complaints. Maybe that needs to be fleshed out a little bit more, all right? Give the town administrator full responsibility for discharging his or her solution. No, I'm sorry. We're gonna have a discussion. And then it can be, there may be different decisions made.
But, sorry, I hear what you're saying, but
Right.
I think you might have your select board hat on for this, because this board and committees is not the select board. Like, we don't fall into this code of conduct, because we have our own code of conduct. So Denise, report to us. That's our structure. The boards and committees are what we're talking about
Right.
here,
But the thing is.
not the select board.
Right, but
Okay.
that's it. What this says here is code of conduct in relation to the town administrator. And if my board does not agree with Denise,
Mhm.
we will have a discussion about it, but I'm not going to sign up to be bound by her decision without some discussions.
Well, why don't we table this and look at the town charter? See whether there is redundancy. I think the intent here is good.
Yes.
The intent being that we shouldn't talk behind each other's backs. We shouldn't try to undercut another department. We shouldn't, say something to the town administrator that we're not going to say to somebody else if we can't. I mean, sometimes there are things that only the town administrator should hear. But yeah, I'm happy to look at this again and in connection with the town charter.
Well, the thing is, how would you like input on this? I came here tonight because, like I said, I agree with 90% of the stuff that's said in there. It's just that there were certain things that jumped out at me that I definitely couldn't agree to. I thought were, and then an awful lot of it just appeared to me to be redundant, that we needed a 4-page policy that you're going to have people cut their thumb and sign in blood.
Yeah, so we get that. So you asked, the crux of your question is, how do you want us to accept input, and what would you recommend? Should we have like people put in writing or edited, or should we set a time where people can?
Is there, hold on, I'm gonna talk. Thanks. So what I think this came, and I may be speaking, this came to us first, right? The boards and committees policy didn't go to any other boards or committee, right? Maybe what would be worth some time is sending out this draft to other boards and committees, getting their feedback back on what the issues that they see are with this, and then trying to work out a solution. Because I think, we speak for the select board, this is the only role other than associate planning board that I've ever done in town. So this is what I know from. But if we could get feedback, I would be happy to put this on a future agenda. I don't know what the easiest way to do that would be, to just email all the chairs of the various boards in one thing. Does that sound like an option that, Courtney?
I don't know how you capture public comment in that case. So,
Well,
what we're hearing is public comment. And I heard from somebody with the same comment that Ellen had yesterday.
Okay.
So, that the visitor policy was, that last bullet was not appropriate. And I think it's a very good point. So perhaps because these are fairly wide-reaching, we need to consider a way to and I don't yet have a suggestion, I'm sorry, to allow a brief period of general comment, so not just from the boards and committees.
Yeah. Okay.
That's my thought.
I'm still feeling, I'm looking at the one that we approved last year, and I would rather, I think it's easily adapted to all the boards and committees, and it's more concise, and it's, even though it was addressing issues we were having, those same issues have come up in a lot of other committees. So I'd be willing to take a stab at trying to make that work for more boards and committees. I think this one, there are a lot of things that are, as somebody said, redundant and, covered by other things. And I'm just talking right now about the boards and committees. But I think sending it around isn't a bad idea. I'm just not sure what the right document is to send around.
Okay.
I remember being quite happy with the one that we.
Yeah, I was reading it again after I saw this, and I was like, it's a good document, and I think it is pretty universal. I know there are things specific that say specifically about the select board, but if you check out select board, say your committee or your chair, most of it is pretty relevant to everybody.
So I propose that we take that and we see if we need to add something to it and modify it to affect all of the boards and committees.
Is that on the town website?
It is. It's actually on our page.
Yeah.
All right, so I want to table this. Tom, do you have anything to say that is not?
Yeah, I agree that you should send it around. One thing I just suggest is that you maybe consider a joint boards meeting. Because you're planning on trying to impose certain things on all the boards and all the volunteers in town. And so I think you should be getting input from all of them. When you did the policy that you did for the select board, it applied to the select board. You guys got input from all the select board members. Now you're looking at something that's going to be much more encompassing. And again, I agree with 90% of it, but there's a pretty good brain trust here in town. And you don't want to be alienating the volunteers and board members by putting things in that they may feel very, very strongly about that, without consulting them first. And, so, and let them have their time. Most people may have all the same issues, and then it'll slide through, slicker than stuff.
Okay. Hector, last comment on this, and then we're gonna.
So I don't agree with Tom, because I don't agree with 90% of this. And I'll put on the record that, as all of you may know, I've put my name forward to run to fill the vacant seat on the select board. So I'm speaking not only as a private citizen, but as a potential board member. This document basically says it's illegal to break the law.
I hear you.
And if I may continue, you said that, well, this is for other town boards, yet the second paragraph says this policy provides a centralized standard of conduct for all elected and appointed officials in the town. Already, some of the things that have been written in here, and I'm sure many of you, because it's human nature, have formed an opinion about this document. This document says you violated the policy. This document itself twice says that its purpose is to tell you that you can't break policies, that you can't violate state law, that you can't go against the town charter. There's nothing, well, except with some of the things that Deb pointed out, most of what's in here, and yes, I was bored, so I read the town charter. Most of what's in here is covered in the town charter. I was even further bored and I read the select board code of conduct. It also says that it's against policy to violate policies. There was an incident, I know what happened last year. There was an incident that happened 14 or 15 years ago that was worse than what happened last year. And all the policies and laws and charters were in place that allowed for the proper disposition of that incident. The people involved were properly disciplined and everything was taken care of. Nothing new needed to be added. Again, this looks more like it's a knee-jerk reaction than a thoughtful response. What happened has been addressed with. The town charter clearly defines how to address these issues. So do the ethics board and the state laws and everything. I'll also mirror what Deb said. If I do get elected to the select board and this is in place, I'll refuse to sign it. And according to that second paragraph, I'm supposed to. Oh, and by the way, the signature block itself violates the policy.
Okay. Here's what I would like to do. I would like to table the board and committee code of conduct policy. I would like to take a motion to table that, because we need to move on to the other two policies that we have.
I almost made the motion, but I.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I move to table the board and committee code of conduct policy.
Second. Okay, any discussion? No, all right, so we're gonna table this until a future meeting. Yes, we have to vote on it, you're absolutely right. All in favor?
Hi.
Aye, okay, great, so that's unanimous, we're gonna table this. Okay, employee code and conduct. Now, Denise, can you talk to this? This is from the Mass Office of the Inspector General. This is not, right? This is just to codify, because we didn't have anything in place.
We don't have employees sign anything that they will follow the mass IG's code of conduct, which
Okay.
we're required to.
Okay,
So we have something in employees' files that say you've read and understand the code of conduct.
okay,
It doesn't put anything forth other than referring to the state.
okay. So as far as this goes, this is. Does anyone have any comments on the employee code of conduct?
I'd like a clarification, please.
Okay.
I believe that we as volunteers are all employees of the town. So this also is applicable to all volunteers, boards and committees.
Okay.
Correct?
Well, there's special employees and then there's employees, so.
I just want to, I want that to be clear in the
Yes.
document.
Yeah.
And in the discussion.
Yes. Okay,
I mean, we could certainly change it to be paid employees if you.
I think
Oh,
probably that's a
wow.
good
It'd be
idea.
worth it, right?
though is the moderator considered, is the moderator gets money? Or takes
He
it?
does not get a moderator, doesn't he?
He gets a stipend.
Oh, it's a stipend.
It's his budget.
It's his budget, yes,
Yes.
the moderator
His
doesn't.
budget, yeah, right.
He does get a stipend.
It's
It
not
has not
really
been
known,
taken
it's not called a
in
stipend.
25 years, it's his budget line item.
It's
no
expenses,
stipend that we
doesn't it?
give to
Doesn't it just say expenses, moderator expenses?
Alright.
If we,
Okay,
the
Yes.
first sentence in the second paragraph says the town of Stow has adopted an ethical code of conduct that recognizes the public, that won't have happened if we
right,
table
so we'll
and
have to,
eliminate.
okay,
right? So
okay.
this one is just
This one-
basically has to refer to the public, the Mass Office of Inspector General information.
Well, no, because the other one does not refer to employment, this says public employment. This is your code of conduct that you're adopting for employees.
But there's a sentence that says the town of Stow has adopted an ethical code of conduct.
The second.
Right, which is this.
Which is.
Oh, this.
This is the ethical code of conduct that recognizes public
Oh.
employment as a public
Like,
trust.
yes, what they, yep, okay, that makes sense. Okay. Yes, Tom?
Sorry to be a pain. You know, one of the things that I could see some people having a problem with is just the first sentence. Who is going to determine whether whether the employees are doing something unfavorable to the town? If you take a look at the Inspector General's guidance that this talks about, it doesn't mention half the stuff that's on this page. I think you might do better saying that we follow the Inspector General's code of conduct. Please be aware of it, and you know you've been notified. But I'm not sure this is ready either. I don't know if legal counsel's reviewed it, but it seems to go above and beyond what the Inspector General's code of conduct says.
I see, yeah.
All right, I'd like to table this one and look at that too. I mean,
I'm gonna call on Kathy.
Oops, since Ingeborg just suggested tabling it, this may be moot, but I did want to say that the employees have not seen this draft. I don't know that they necessarily know that it's being considered unless they've looked at the select board agenda. So in the spirit of, you know, seeking input on the board and committee policy similar, I think it would be great if this would be shared with the employees and them given a chance to give any feedback. Thanks.
Thank you, Kathy. Did you?
I was just gonna comment, the moderator's salary was $45, the moderator expenses are $46.
Oh,
So
all
we
right,
haven't
well,
paid out a moderator stipend. in,
Correct.
I don't know how many years.
I don't think they've asked for one, they just give it back to the town.
But I was gonna say, Ed used to give it to library.
Yes, he would take it and give it to somebody, right? Correct.
Okay, so he
All
has
right.
paid them, okay.
So Ingeborg,
could you like me to make a motion?
I would love you to make a motion to table.
I move to table the discussion of the employee code of conduct policy until, just table it until or just table it.
Table it for
further review.
review
Okay, and review of the state
Yep.
code.
Second.
Okay, any other discussion? Nope. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, great. So the last one is the visitor code of conduct.
I think we should just table that.
Do you want to just table it as well? Okay,
Yes, please.
so I will take a motion to table.
I move to table the further discussion of the visitor code of conduct policy until we've reviewed the other two codes of conduct policy.
A second.
All right, any other discussion? No, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay. All right.
So I'm sorry you worked so hard on this, but it sounds like we got some good public input on it.
No, I'm just not gonna put them back before you.
Well, I think we should just understand what the Inspector General's code is, whether we even need any of these and.
Yeah, that's fine. I would actually disagree with the statements that this is 95% in the charter. This is talking about how to speak to people, be respectful, respect the chair,
It's a
respect the
way-
coworkers.
What you were taught as a kid.
And unfortunately, people don't seem to find that obvious.
Well, it's
So
because we
maybe they didn't
had
get taught it.
a president that promoted huge
Right.
bad behavior.
I do.
So that's where we were last meeting, and
Okay.
we seem to need to point out to people that they need to
Right,
behave.
it's like you
And
need to
so
just.
how do we do that without being long-winded and
Right,
redundant?
right.
Because the charter does not tell people how to behave.
Right.
Does not tell people to be respectful.
Doesn't the
Neither
code
does
of
state law.
ethics-
No,
code of
nope.
ethics doesn't cover it?
Nope, does not tell people to respect the chair, go through the chair.
No.
You can't act as individuals, be respectful, be courteous,
You-
do not bully, do not harass.
Robert's Rules of Order does.
Yeah, but not the
But not all
mass
boards,
ethics.
and
like
not all boards have
not
to
all
follow
boards have to
Robert's.
That's
follow
correct.
Yeah.
So since
So-
there's a charter review coming up, maybe that's something that needs.
Oh,
to be-
yeah.
I would
I'm-
say that does not belong in a town charter, to be respectful. That does not belong in a charter, in my
Well, you
opinion.
shouldn't have to write it down.
Right, it
Exactly.
shouldn't have to be common sense. I mean, it
Right.
shouldn't
But
have.
unfortunately,
Okay,
in
so
today's
now
environment.
we voted to table this.
We
and we're
voted to table it, so we
discussing
gotta stop talking about it. All right, excellent. We're moving on to fiscal year 2022 year-end transfers.
Yes, so just a couple of them. Actually, all of these departments have money. It's just easy to take it from one. I think we talked about this last year. So a couple departments, we have funding going in that don't necessarily need it, but we're just trying to plan for any last minute bills that may arrive. So if the money is not needed, it will fall to free cash. But $64,099, the majority of which is snow and ice, which is just under 50,000.
Any questions from the board? No. All right, I'll take a motion.
I move to approve the fiscal year 2022 year-end transfers as presented by the town administrator.
Second.
Any further discussion? Nope, seeing none. All in favor?
Aye.
That's unanimous. Okay. Meeting minutes
They were very good.
are very good. She does a very good, thorough job.
Yeah, I liked it.
One
Do you have
small
notes?
comment on the June 14th meeting minutes.
Sure.
Let's see, it's page 5 at the bottom. In the motion, it should say Randall Library Exterior Design Committee. It just says Randall Library Committee, and it's ambiguous because
Okay.
Let me find that, because actually there was a question on the vote that was actually taken.
Page 5.
page 5.
Where you are.
Let's see.
Sorry, how many paragraphs up? Oh, I see. It's the second paragraph from the bottom. So it's Randall Library Building Committee.
So that's actually how you voted. You did not vote specific
Okay, that was the
to,
motion.
so I told Joyce to keep it in, which would cover both the building committee 2.0 and the exterior design committee.
Got it.
Because the motion was just Randall
Oh,
Library.
Got
Building
it, got it,
Committee.
got it.
Okay.
Okay.
So I can either put that on next meeting to revote each committee as special municipal employees, but I felt that this would cover since it was part of that discussion.
Okay.
Oh, it's just special municipal employees?
Yes, we
That's
voted
fine.
to
That's
designate the
fine.
Randall
Mhm,
Library
mhm.
Building
Okay.
Committee, which is 2 committees now.
I think
Yeah.
technically, because it was listed as 2 different votes on the agenda, that we should probably just to be clear, vote it again, even though we know that's what we intended.
So we'll put that on, but yes, Joyce questioned that, and I said, if that's what they voted, we gotta put it on there, and
Right. Okay, that's fair.
I'm sorry, I'm lost.
We're gonna revote the.
I mean, I was there.
Just the wording.
I think the wording was funny, and so I think it makes more sense to just revote.
Yes, so we created 2 library building committees.
Yes.
When the vote happened to make them special municipal employees, the vote just said the Randall Library Building Committee.
Okay.
Didn't specify the 2 different committees. So the minutes
Okay.
reflect the vote that was taken.
But aren't they like written down for us? La La Land?
Yes, it was probably written that way.
It was written,
Maybe it was written that way.
that way
Could've been-
instead of split,
All right,
and so it
fine.
was just following the motion.
That's fine, thank you.
Alrighty.
Sometimes
I
I
haven't
keep
changed
my
it.
stupidity
Yep.
inside and other times I go, all right, I have to fess up.
So we will
Um,
just revote that at the next meeting.
Okay, thank you.
all right, Ellen, what is your
Do you want
change
to
on
do
the
the
21st?
14th separately, or should I just do the 21st?
What, just do the 21st and then we can just do 2
So
votes in a
just,
row.
so the EDIC discussion was, she actually went quite into quite detail, and I felt like the one thing I said that I wanted to be included was that I was concerned about, that the perception would be that Stowe was continuing its perception as a anti-business community. So, and I know, I said it because I had people call me later to say thank you. So, what I wrote to Joyce, I've written her to ask her to correct it, but it was that, my concern was that it would be seen as adding the perception of Stowe as anti-business.
Okay.
In a specific section or just?
On the EDIC discussion, which was the
What
whole
page is
last page.
It is page 5.
It's, there's some point. Okay.
That's fine.
I think it's
top of
we can-
page 5 is.
yeah. All right.
The second paragraph on page 5.
Yes.
Yeah, right. Yep. Okay.
Well, I move to accept the meeting minutes of June 21st as, with amendments.
I don't think we voted the
Yeah,
other
we're
ones
doing
first.
both.
I was gonna just go through them and then do 2. We gotta do 14.
Okay, so we're gonna,
Do you want-
is that
that's what I
gonna
was-
be amended? So I thought we just said we're gonna revote it now,
No. we
No,
can-
no, no.
June 14th.
We're gonna revote the votes that we took. Oh, can we?
So
Yeah,
should
we can
should
approve the
not vote?
minutes though.
You should approve the minutes because that's
Okay.
that's how
Yes,
the vote.
right,
right.
So next
then we
week.
just-
we'll have
And then
just
we're
that.
gonna revote, okay.
Okay, I move to accept the minutes of the June 14th, 2022 meeting with amendments,
I know.
with amendments,
No amendments.
No.
No amendments.
as drafted. I move to accept the meeting. Okay,
It's
do you feel like your
quarter of
stupidity
nine.
is in good company? I move to accept the meeting minutes, June 14th, 2022 meeting as drafted.
Are you gonna do both?
No, we'll do one at a
Oh,
time.
for God's sake, second.
Any discussion? No, all in favor? Aye. Unanimous.
Let's do the next one.
Next one.
Now I move to accept the minutes of the June 21st, 2022 meeting with amendments.
Second.
No more discussion? Yeah. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That's unanimous.
Yeah, we could just put that as an item on the agenda, right, to just.
Yes,
vote
to just
Fix
vote
that.
for the
Special
Right.
exterior
measures.
building committee special.
We don't have
Yes.
to-
Okay, did anyone have any questions about correspondence? Or comments?
Very few pieces of correspondence this
Do
time.
you want to talk about Verizon? I'm just kidding. All of my channels are changing. Just kidding. All right, if we have no,
Move to adjourn.
Second.
all in favor?
Hi.
Aye, all right, and this meeting is now adjourned. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Hold